grade 11 pupil in a KZN school in Great Town, in particular, where the pupil obviously was suspended for growing a beard. Now, clearly, this has created much discussion. The family said that they are unhappy with the Great Town High School's decision to suspend his son for growing the beard, and the Department of Education initially said it was unaware of the incident, and but the school's code of conduct should be adhered to. And we are now joined by Dr. Imran Keeka with the Democratic Alliance and also MPL, just to take this discussion further and to understand what some of these issues are. Dr. Imran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, as always, and welcome to the show.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for the opportunity, and greetings and salams to your viewers and listeners.
Yes, Dr. Imran, just looking at this incident that had taken place at the Great Town High School, your initial reaction when the story had actually broken?
So I was initially informed of this around 2 weeks ago. I was in Cape Town when somebody called me and said to me that there is this incident not only involving this one boy, but two others, so three in total. And my initial response was, and where I was I said to them, please supply me with the details of the parents so that I may interact with them. And if you ask me for a knee-jerk reaction, Brother Inayat, several years ago, probably about 35 years ago, from the color of my beard, if you had to look at it, I was in the very same shoes that these youngsters find themselves in now. I also wanted to keep my beard, and my school also didn't want me to keep the beard. So, Alhamdulillah, at that time, it was some elders of the town that got together and that came and spoke to the school and the education department in the area at the time, and the problem was resolved. That was, of course, the apartheid government. What we have now is a different dispensation. We have a democratic government, we have a constitution, and we have a Bill of Rights that I believe trumps any school's code of conduct.
Yes. Now, just looking at the code of conduct, because that seems to be the excuse that is given in terms of the code of conduct is specific and stipulates that boys need to be clean shaven. But just looking at this code of conduct and how it actually stands up, as a test, like you mentioned, to the Bill of Rights and to the Constitution of the country.
I think that if the code of conduct of this school and also many, many other schools in the province are tested and, in a court of law or before the constitutional court to see if these codes of conduct, which are actually binding on learners, meet constitutional muster, will find that they don't. So that is what I would want to see, first of all. And in this particular case, I'm waiting for some documents to arrive on my desk from the parents. I've had interaction with them today. I managed to put out a message and was able to make contact with them and have a discussion. I wasn't able to talk to the young 17-year-old man, but I was able to talk to his father and his sister. So I'm waiting for those documents that they have from the school to have a look at it. And also today I've had the opportunity to I sent a message to the MEC, a long voice note to her regarding this incident. And hopefully, we'll get to the bottom of it. The bottom line is this: in our province, we have had several incidents that have had to do with either the hair of learners. We've had an incident where recently, you will know, that a young learner committed suicide. She wanted to adorn her traditional attire. She was a sangoma and she wanted to adorn her traditional attire. The school prevented her from doing it. It set her into a severe state of depression. And eventually, by the time the problem was resolved, she had already taken her life. There are the incidents where we have seen during last year's matric examinations another learner who uh, said that they are a sangoma and needed to use a snuff during the examinations. Whilst there is nothing written in the code of conduct, it might say no smoking allowed, for example, on the school premises. An exception had to be made in the case of this learner, and she was allowed to use it because it was her cultural belief. And so here too, we know the importance of the beard in the Sunnah. We know the importance of the beard in Islam. And I think that if we get an opinion from the CRL, which is the Commission for Religious and Linguistic Rights, and if we had to test this before the Human Rights Commission, I believe that even if we had to test this in a court of law, the school would dismally lose its case from what I am aware of currently. And that is why I go back to the point to say that codes of conduct in schools must make sure that they are in conformity with the country's Bill of Rights, which sets out the rights of individuals. Yes, there must be a code of conduct that ensures that there is proper discipline in the school, that the dress code is upheld, and so on and so forth. But I think where these nuances come up, they must be tested, and an opinion must be obtained through the Chapter 9 institutions such as the CRL, for example.
Yes. Now, look, in this particular case, obviously the school is going to stand by the code of conduct as a form of justification on their position. But the question is, what do you make of the Department of Education? Because, they are also saying exactly the same thing. They're saying the code of conduct must be adhered to. And if you recall the incident with the South African National Defence Force, because,
Correct.
there we were talking about a code of conduct as well, where we had
Correct.
one of the Muslim female Defence Force members, and the whole hijab issue, and at the end of it, the defense force was actually compelled to obviously make sure that her rights were being protected, and wearing the hijab, even if it was part of the uniform, but at the end of the day, they conceded. Now obviously we're looking at a similar scenario that is developing here, Dr. Imran.
You hit the nail on the head with that one. I mean, at the end of the day, what will prevail is the constitutional right of an individual, not the code of conduct if it is unconstitutional. So that is why I'm saying that the department. I was listening to an interview on SAFM today by Muzi Mahlambi. I have expressed my discontent, if you can put it that way, and discomfort with many of the things that these department spokespersons say. Uh, you know, One is, yes, the code of conduct is protected in the South African Schools Act, but it will only be protected to the extent that it is also compliant with the provisions of the Constitution. We must have the freedom of religion in our country, so long as that freedom of religion does not break our law. So, for example, the laws of qisas that we have in the Sharia, those laws may not be condigned, or definitely not condigned with our constitution, and therefore we are unable to practice that. But the reality is that to keep facial hair, or keep our hair in a certain way, or to be able to read our salah or other aspects of our deen that we are entitled to practice, or we should be practicing, or we must be practicing, all of these things, we have the freedom to practice these things in our country, and we must make sure that we stand up for our rights. If we impinge on the right of one person, it will lead to the impingement of rights of other people. So, what I always say is that if we want our rights, we must be able to give those same rights to other people. And keeping this principle of freedom in our mind, and ensuring that we stick to constitutionalism and the rule of law, then I believe, and this is my understanding, that if the school's code of conduct impinges on these constitutional rights, then the constitution will definitely reign supreme, not the code of conduct. And this learner, like I said, if they take it and test it before any court of law, if it reaches even the constitutional court, I doubt it will go that far. This learner will definitely win the right. And in this same vein, like I said earlier, I have brought this up with the MEC for Education earlier today and even prior to today, and we are hoping that as the final arbiter in several of these matters in the department, uh, you know, um, some sense will prevail, and the young man and anybody else for that matter will be able to keep their beard. There's already a ruling in this regard from the Department of Education. It just has to be applied. So, the school might not be aware of it, and they are just affecting the learning and teaching that is, regarding this learner, for which I believe there should also be consequences. Because if the school insists on persisting on something that is unconstitutional, well, they too must be held to account.
Yes, and just finally, looking at this incident, and we know that this has not been the only incident, and there will still be incidents going to the future. And this is an issue that needs to be finally put to bed, Dr. Imran. And I know you, as a politician, obviously taking this matter, but where does this actually leave our religious bodies that are recognized by the governments, the likes of our Jamiats, the United Ulama Council of South Africa? Because surely, we've taken up many other matters that impact on us, whether it was a Muslim marriages bill, Muslim personal law, and all these issues. It's not that as Muslims we are looking at preferential treatment, but the responsibility lies with our religious bodies, so that we don't have these type of problems that crop up over and over again. During the COVID time, yes, we abided. We spoke to the government. We abided by their regulations. We closed our masajids. We did all of that. But we've got a life to lead as Muslims going forward, and these are issues that need to be addressed also by the bodies that are recognized by the government as representatives of the Muslim community.
May Allah Ta'ala give them the ajr and khair for all the hard work that they do, and may they continue to do their good work. Yes, indeed, they have all stood up whenever there was a need to stand up for the same constitutional rights that I spoke about of the Muslim community, like any other religious community. So, inshallah, I think that we will get over this, and I think that their assistance, obviously, the department will want to hear what are the hukuk, what are those things that we are supposed to be doing, whether we keep a beard, whether we wear the hijab, whatever it is. As it is, I mean, there's a school literally 200 meters away from my house. The girls there are wearing the niqab and the hijab. The boys are keeping their beards. This is the same school that I went to, and this is the same situation that I was in. And inshallah, the young man will wear his beard. Will take it up, and we'll see, inshallah, that the matter is resolved very amicably between the department and his family. It's just that, unfortunately, from what I heard today, he's unable to write an examination that is currently undergoing. But I'm sure the school also will come to its senses, and they will remedy the situation as it is.
Well, we certainly will follow developments, and we will follow up on this story and see, what the outcomes are. But for now, Dr. Imran Keeka, Jazakallah so much, as always, for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll keep you informed, inshallah.
Jazakallah for that. Dr. Imran Keeka with us, MPL with the Democratic Alliance. We're going to go for a break. We'll be back.